Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to Emma's Hip Hop and R&B Manager Meetup number 2. It's really good to see so many of you here. My name is Michelle Ronquillo, and I am Emma's event manager. Just a little bit about us. Within Emma, we unite music managers organizations across 13 European countries, which represent more than 2,000 managers across Europe. We've made it our mission to strengthen European managers globally through the Empower program, which encompasses education, advocacy, networking, and research. Emma is a project co-founded by the European Union. If you want to know more about us, or if you want to stay up to date with the upcoming events, make sure to visit our website, follow us on social media, join our WhatsApp group, sign up to our newsletter. I will put all the links in the chat in a little bit. Within the chat, there is also a general manager's contact list where you can leave your contact details and also find the details of others that have attended this meeting and previous meetings, managers meetups. Also, when you log off soon, at the end of the session, a super brief survey will pop up. Please take a moment to fill it out, as your feedback is super important for us and it helps us to improve our upcoming events. I'm going to share the agenda of the event today. Okay, give me 1 second. So we are in very good company today, and our moderator is Mobo Agoro, who is a manager and also Emma Hip Hop and R&B steering committee member. And today we're diving in all things networking, going international. Yeah, I can't wait to hear our guests. So over to you, Mobo.
Hello, thank you, Michelle. I'm super excited to be hosting the second Hip Hop and R&B Managers Meetup. Especially during the last meetup, I met some colleagues who ended up helping me route a tour for one of my artists. However, today isn't about me. Today is about our esteemed guests from across Europe. And can I maybe ask you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do and where you're calling from today? Maybe starting with Ramiro.
Hi, how is it going? Nice to say hello and to be here with all these colleagues. I come from Spain. I have an agency. We put the focus on artists, emergent artists, like Abir Hati is an Indian Canarian artist from Madrid, and we work with hip hop, R&B, and indie artists. So we are a very young company. We just have 3 years old, and we are really excited because Abir, one of our main artists, just became like really succeed. He succeeded a lot, and here in Spain, and he became like wow, like something like we are non-stop working with him. So we are very happy. So nice to say hello, and I'm here for whatever you may need.
Amazing, thank you. That sounds really exciting. I can't wait to hear about it a little bit more. Tracey, where are you calling from today?
Hi guys, I'm from the UK, especially London, and I am a music artist talent manager. And I currently have one artist under my roster who's Shasta Moon, who's a multi-genre artist, and we've recently just got awarded a fund from Amazon, and FAC. So we'll be doing a lot of stuff with them. And yeah, it's just a relatively new company, but we're really, really excited. So
Right. Thank you, Tracey. Emiliano, where are you based? And tell us about yourself.
Hi everyone, and thanks for inviting. I'm based in Amsterdam, and I also have one artist on my roster. I follow Michael Echo. He does alternative R&B and hip hop. And on the side, I also freelance as assistant artist manager for agency also here in Amsterdam, for which we work with the DJs, and we do management and bookings.
So we've got a pretty wide pool of experience here. I want to get into it straight away. Just today, we're going to talk a little bit about like networking and how to actually get into some of the markets you know, especially coming from the UK, trying to get into markets outside and wider Europe, and also traveling through Europe. So I'll just keep this open for anybody. What are some of the do's and don'ts that you've encountered when expanding internationally? Like,
I can go first if you guys want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some do's for us. I'm referring with the work that I do with Michael. It's are definitely, for example, understanding the local scene and try to connect with the local partners. We recently concluded a tour. We went to Paris, we went to Berlin, and we went also to the UK. What was important for us is to try to find partnerships and team up with the local artist, because of course you don't have depending on which level your artist is at, but of course you need to build an audience, and generally speaking it's easier to work with local artists and to connect with the existing audiences and try to make them become your audience as well. So I suggest that as a do. As a don't, maybe to not underestimate logistic, because of course, if you're an up and coming artist and you're establishing yourself, a lot of the logistic depends on the venue, but also on yourself, because you're not gonna get most of the time the best deal from the venue. Therefore, you don't have to underestimate the cost that you're gonna take on yourself in that case.
Yeah, no, definitely, like, because the logistics are like, that's what makes it work, you know, and especially if you're playing in a place that is in the city that you're used to, you definitely want to get those tight. I know, Tracey, that Shah Simone is often on the road, and I've had the pleasure of seeing Shah Simone play in Glasgow. Can you tell me a little bit more about like some of that live development
Aspect? Yeah, I think the do's is really understanding, just to touch on what Emiliano said, is the culture in every city, the culture in every country, like really tapping into the market, tapping into the artists, but also tapping into the execs and the people that work in the industry and that understand the landscape a lot better than you. I think don't go there with the assumption that what would work in the UK would work in Glasgow or Italy or Spain or Africa. And I think don't also underestimate the fact that, you might not necessarily be known in those territories. So always go in and perform as if you are still developing in that region, and pick up fans along the way. So with Shah, we've taken a bit of a backseat this year when it comes to live, just because we're obviously working on new music. And I think it's important to really understand where you are as an artist. There's some fans that might know you for a particular period of time that you were recording or releasing. And so now if we're going into new markets, we're trying to promote and push new music, I think it's really important to understand that, but also use data, use analytics, use that when you are targeting and entering new markets, because that's going to tell you where you need to go, where you need to focus, where you maybe need to tap in a bit more and save you time wasting, going into areas or countries that might not necessarily be a particular huge market for yourself. So I think those would be the do's and don'ts for me, especially with where she's at the moment.
Thank you. Is there something you'd like to add, Ramiro?
Yes, I think that right now it's really important, like, to identify, like, I think that it's easier than we think, because when we try to go outside our borders, it's something simple, like to have a list of venues or list of managers that could, like, make some partnerships, right? And like work together and like make a work, like, you help me now and I will help you later, right? So this is something that for us, for example, when we are from Spain, so we have all the LATAM market, right? So when we go to Argentina, we just do this like that, you know, like, okay, you guys come from Argentina, for example, and we build you around here in Barcelona, Madrid, or 5, 6 cities, okay? And then on, we will go there and we will join you guys, and we perform together, you know? So it's something really like, well, going back to the roots, you know? For me, it's like, I'm a musician, right? So being a manager is something is brand new for me, right? Is something that I know what is to go onto the stage, but in the shadow, it's so different, right? So having this perspective, you know, is like something like, for me, is like going back to roots, and
Yeah.
it's related with really to have a helping hand, and to really like be open to help others, you know.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's very true. From the things that you've said there, the things that stood out there is like leaning on your network, understanding the culture, and then also the analytics. And when it comes to analytics, that like oftentimes like that gets thrown out, like look at the analytics, but like what are like some of the places that you'd look at for the analytics in order to help you inform what country to go to or what city to play?
Yeah. I'll go on that first. So there's like a lot of different platforms that you can use. Of course, there's the usual DSPs, which is your Spotify for artists and the Amazon for artists. A lot of DSPs do have backends that you can use. They have third-party analytic built in. So if you are going through a certain distribution company, maybe it's worth tapping in and asking if they do have and provide analytical data for your artist. There's also platforms like Chartmetric. It does cost, so if you don't really have the funds, then maybe just rely on things like Spotify for artists. Just using those platforms to really dig deep and see what's happening, because obviously, you know, the artist being a creative, they're sort of just looking, you know, on the front end, which is the streams and the numbers. But as a manager, I think it's important to really like go in the back end and actually, you know, decipher the information and see what region people are listening in from, what's the age demographic and things like that. So yeah, I think it's super important to
Yeah.
incorporate that into your strategies and your methods.
Definitely. And some of the things that you mentioned, like chart metrics, is something that I use heavily as well. And they do have a tier that is like a monthly paid subscription. And a little cheat code is like you can just subscribe for a couple of months, get the information.
Yeah.
And then when you don't need it anymore, you know, you can take a little pause. When it comes to also analytics, right? And like figuring out what places, like let's say, okay, talking sakes, I've got a listenership in the Netherlands. Like now it's that further layer of understanding the culture. Like, and I think Emiliano, you'd mentioned that like understanding who the people on the ground are. Like, could you maybe like how would you go about contacting those people, or how have you went about contacting people in order to get your artist into certain regions?
Well, in our specific case, Michael, he has a residency here in Amsterdam,
Okay.
which has been helping a lot in connecting with artists abroad, because that means that partnering up with a venue, local venue, you have a budget to invite people over and to play at your residency show and create the lineup, etc. And this serves the purpose of both building a community locally, but also connecting with the artist abroad. And that, for example, for Michael helped a lot in creating a network. And then going back to what Ramiro was saying, exchanging favors. You come here and I'm gonna come to you later on. So you create this kind of like a synergy where you help each other out, give a space for other artists from abroad to come here and perform, but at the same time you stay relevant in your territory and give yourself a chance to have a recurring activation offline for people to connect, which also to leverage on releases on because you can always do release parties, for example, or special moments that you want to create for your audience. You can always you can, for example, collect emails and invite those people over and over and try to build a sustainable audience for yourself, because in the end, that's what you want, I believe, as an artist.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that data goes back to the data, but then also the actual human touch, right? Like the actual building the connections with people, building those relationships. Ramiro, with the buzz that is happening around Kabil just now, like where did that come from? Was it something that started online, or was it something where it was more through live, or did it happen together?
You're talking about Abid?
Kabil, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the specific case of a beer is like really, well, it's non typical, because he started like singing R&B. So Spain is a country that R&B never succeed and will never succeed. It's something that no one doing R&B is gonna be like a huge artist, right?
Okay.
I don't know why, but this is it. Okay. Even flamenco artists around here are not huge artists. Okay, so it's a weird country,
Are
right?
they usually bigger outside of Spain?
Yeah, I mean it's something really. It's a small. It's something really. There are not so many artists doing like R&B,
Mhm.
and it's like something not really. The people don't understand like that movement, R&B movement, like coming from Frank Ocean and things like that. So Abid was doing R&B, and he had a crisis, really huge crisis, and he said like, man, I think I'm stopping creating music, and I will need to get some job. What are you talking about? And he's from India, right? His parents are from Mumbai, okay? And I lived in Mumbai for 3 years, and I said, man, it's not possible that I speak more Hindi than you. You know what I mean? So the thing you should do, I think, is you gotta go into your roots. You gotta go into your inner journey inside that comes from going from outside to inside, and you have to discover what you have inside and you never seen. So from then on, he like, wow, he made like a really he changed his mindset, and wow, he's right now doing like Hindi trap, and
Okay.
he comes on stage with Indian Hindu dancer, everything is related with Ganesh and all these gods from India. So he changed his mind, and he really discovered like his thing. He has his
Yeah.
own and unique style.
Yeah.
And this is something that even with Rosalia or Ralphie Chu or Rusovsky, that are like the most for me vanguardist artists right now. They are creating their own style, maybe with a little bit of flamenco and a little bit of R&B, why not, but really specific things,
Yeah.
so they are creating their own like worlds,
Yeah, and that always connects, right? Like it's what I get from that sort of, you looked inwards and understood the message, and now it's sort of about finding the tribe. And if you're being true to yourself, your tribe will find you.
And let me add, Mobo, that right now the industry, we all know that, wow, became really a fast race, guys that 1 year ago no one knew, right now they are really huge artists. In Spain, for example, I think the difference between Spain and other European countries is that really the hip hop was really underground, and for example in UK or in France or in Italy, the hip hop or the underground music was not that deep, It was
Mhm.
really a little bit mainstream. And here in Spain, the hip hop movement was really never was mainstream. And suddenly those things became mainstream, you know?
Yeah.
So we really are we just had like some 4 or 5 last years, something like it's everything is new, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And even with the speed of the industry, you know, we are really right now taking like some perspective of what is going on, you know. But
Mhm.
Spain is it's a weird place, really
Yeah.
open-minded, but really really weird, but with a
Mm.
lot of talent, you know.
Can I
Yeah.
just touch on that quickly as well? Just with what Ramiro said, that whereas Spain is experiencing such a new growth in the market, maybe it's a good time to collaborate with like other artists in markets like the UK, which is a little bit developed and things like that. So artists are interchanging, you know, cultures, but also the experience of growth.
Mhm.
And maybe that's something to look at as well when, you know, targeting new markets and reaching beyond the borders.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes straight
Absolutely.
into what the next question as well, Tracy, which is about networking. Like, how do you like effectively network? Like, and the example that you made was great. Could you maybe
Yeah.
expand on that, please?
So things like this, joining Emma, joining MMF, things like this, you know, like now that I've met, you know, you guys, I could definitely tap into your network and things like that. So I'm prolific when it comes to networking. That's just my bag. I think networking is the term is sometimes can be quite greasy because it depends on how people go about networking. For me, it's about building real relationships and real connections, whether it's with the artist manager, whether it's with the artist. Like any relationship I build, it's for longevity, isn't just exchangeable. So, you know, yeah, just reaching out to people. It normally starts quite close to home, people you know, and then in turn it turns into, you know, it starts fostering outside. So people you don't know, just yeah, going to things like this, joining community organizations like Emma, MMF. She said so. There's so many that are around that is music related, but also non-music related, that can help you get mentors or mentees and create a community around what it is that you're trying to do. So yeah, reaching out and building authentic, real connections.
If I can add something on top of that, is that I think a special focus in order to build a network is also to focus on your team as an artist. What Michael does very well is to build a team around himself that is very effective, because then you have if you have a manager, of course, but then also a publisher, a distributor, A&R, photographer, videographer, the stylist, having these people around you, and these are all creative peoples that work in different creative industry, coming from different angles, that allows you to, you know, be very much interconnected and enhance your possibilities of or facilitate your possibilities to eventually get to know other people that can somewhat collaborate with you or help you with your career as well. And for example, that can also facilitate then later on to be considered for showcase festivals and everything that Tracey has mentioned already.
No, it is really important, like the networking part. And like you never know where it would lead. You know, as I said at the very beginning, I met a few people on here, and that's helped me now over time to route a tour. And a lot of the things that you've been sharing really much ring home with me. You know, whether it's leaning on your network or the analytics part. One of the parts that I want to maybe get into a little bit more is like understanding the culture. You know, it is so expensive to tour right now, and it just feels even more expensive in the UK for some reason. But what are like maybe some of the considerations to have when coming to the Netherlands or the UK, or Spain? Maybe Tracey?
Yeah, so I think It is, you're definitely right, Mo. It is so expensive live. And if you don't have the funds and the means to really, put on a show, it can be extremely frustrating. So I think like trying to be innovative and creative. So utilizing, digital methods and online, finding ways to perhaps partner with companies that could offer, VR or AR or things that could essentially help you still be active and seen without having to go to these places.
Mhm.
So I would say there was something interesting that a friend of mine did with his artist was tapping in with Meta, and they did sort of like a online gig a couple of years ago. This was just a little bit after COVID. And it was sort of like pre-recorded, and they shared that amongst their fans, and that was like really helpful for people to still be able to like tap in without him having to go, to America and Europe and have to spend money and things like that. So yeah, being innovative and creative,
Mhm.
thinking outside the box, using social media. Like Instagram is
Mhm.
free, we have live, it's not necessarily used as much, but that's still a great way to connect with people.
Yeah,
TikTok too,
definitely.
but biased.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. You have to make those connections. And one of the maybe Ramiro, like, was it like touring in Spain? And do the artists oftentimes get shows outside of Spain as well?
Could you repeat, please? Excuse me.
How has it been like touring in Spain? I'm trying to get some tips for any artist managers looking to maybe play shows in Spain.
I'm losing you. I'm sorry. Excuse me, because I don't hear. I don't hear well. Maybe it's my connection.
I was asking how it is touring in Spain.
Yes, touring Spain.
Yeah.
I mean, here I think it's something that it's happening globally. I mean, touring in Spain is it's in less hands day by day. It's going. It's as that all the industry is just in 5 or 6 hands.
Mm-hmm.
All these uh, funds that are buying like little companies that are buying like huge companies. Um, 10 years ago, maybe it was 30 players. Right now are 6, 7 players. In 10 years, maybe we will have like 2, 3 players. It's
Mm-hmm.
something really sad, because I think all the culture is a little bit in risk because everything is like you go to an airport and you go to a shop called Sunglass Hut, and you see Ray-Ban, Oakley, Persol, Ray-Ban, Gucci, Bulgari. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the owner of all these 23 brands is the same one. It's just one guy.
Mm-hmm.
And in music, there is a really alternative net of little venues and little promoters that are really keeping the faith, of really of what of why they are working on this, the purpose of working on this, that is to love music, but when you need to survive and you need to perform and you need to go touring, that was what you asked me, and you should pass through some things that maybe are not that comfortable and are really mm, not good conditions for the artists that are starting, all the budgets, the
Yeah.
80% of the budget of the festivals are for the
Mm-hmm.
headliners,
Yeah.
And maybe they call you from a really huge festival that you are like, wow, man, they called me for playing there, performing in this festival, but they pay me like nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
So maybe the route might also be like showcase festivals, you know?
yeah.
Like have you any of you had experience programming your artists on showcase festivals before? And has that been a good route for you to get abroad?
Yes,
Yeah.
here in, oh, excuse me, Tracy, please.
No, go on. No, you finish.
Here in Spain, we have like the Monkey Week. There's in Seville. We have the
Mm.
Pyme, you know, that
Yeah.
are like
Pro weekend?
Yeah, what?
And pro weekend?
Yes, yes, that are something really, really like underground, you know, and you
Mhm.
discover like amazing bands right there, you know,
Yeah.
and you really it's like the real network, you know, where
Mhm.
where the real people meets, you know, and
Yeah.
I think this is something that really should be one of the tweets of this encounter, you know, of
Mhm.
this meeting. I mean, the
Yeah.
network and to create network, to help each other, to be open to really help and to create network, and for
Mhm.
sure, this something you just said, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, there's also a lot of these festivals do showcase lineup such as like South by Southwest or The Great Escape, and like a lot of them do placements for emerging artists, but I think with things like that it shouldn't really be reflective on what stage your artist is at. I think it's if it's an opportunity for them to perform and showcase their talent and artistry
Mhm.
a different region, I think it's always worthwhile because you never know who is going to be there.
Yeah.
South by Southwest is still open, by the way, guys. It's the applications close on the 31st of October. So I mean the earlier the better, because obviously I think the price tier does change, but is also
Mhm.
something still worth going. And then I know in the UK we have PRS, which is a platform that also gives artists the ability to apply for funds to attend those things. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but it's always worth checking, your like manager union and to see what is available. And yeah, and sometimes the opportunities is greater at hand. So if you don't have something like the PRS fund to enable you to go, perhaps if you do get selected, it's worth maybe sitting down with your artist to say, is this the opportunity worthwhile? And if it is, taking the risk and taking the leap to go,
Mhm.
obviously having a plan when you are there. Okay, so what are we going to do? Who do we want to target? Who do we want to see? Making sure that it's worthwhile. Like I said, I'm very
Mhm.
prolific when it comes to that. So if that's something I would do. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. And would you like to add something, Emiliano?
Yeah, indeed. With Michael also, we came to Scotland, for example, with Pitch Scotland. So yeah, taking the chance of participating to showcase festivals, as Tracy said, you need to go all in if you can, and might be that you have to cover some cost yourself, of course, but take always the chance because you never know who is there listening to you.
Yeah.
You can potentially open some new doors,
Mhm.
indeed. Another one that is maybe worth to be mentioned is Eurosonic Nordeslag. I don't know if you guys are familiar. Unfortunately, they already closed the applications for this year, but maybe to keep in mind for the next one.
And no, that's really great. And when it comes to these kind of opportunities and identifying new markets and going into new markets, right? Like, can you tell us a little bit about the timing and the readiness for entering new markets? Like, what's a good time to start making those steps?
I'm not sure if you're referring the question to me directly.
It's open. Maybe Emiliano, you could start.
Of course. Well, indeed, I would say you need to look at the existing warm audience that you have around,
Mhm.
and at the data as well. That's also very important. For us, the data are a bit misleading sometimes because Michael performs as a top liner as well, which means he does top lining for bigger artists. That is something that helps a lot in order to create a new audience, but sometimes in terms of data can be misleading. And that's why, connecting to what Tracey was mentioning before, other than chart metric is very good to go in depth and go, for example, on artists on Spotify and see how specific songs perform, rather than so you can differentiate the collaboration with other artists from your own songs and your own catalog. But indeed, I would say it's a good way of starting is to look at the warm audience, see if you have maybe some collectives that some other artists that you have previously worked with, and see if you can arrange something with them. Reach out to venues, see if you can be part of a shared lineup, because of course moving to a different country can be tricky, because if you're gonna be the only one in the lineup, well, you need to, of course, guarantee ticket sellability. That's not always the case. So what we do is most of the time we see if we can take part of a shared lineup with the local artists, sort of give the promoter the certainty of gathering together people that then can get to know Michael as an artist, and eventually, then you can play a good role of connecting directly with them. And for the next time that you're gonna come back to the same country, you can reconnect again with them and add new people.
No.
Yeah, I'll go after Emiliano. So just the readiness and the timing, I'll be very real with you guys. And music is, and that's why I love music, because it's so fascinating. Anything can happen. You could be super prepared. I could be making plans for 3 to 6 months, but I think, say for instance, a release does come out and it does really, really well. You can't necessarily prepare for that. You just have to sort of go with what's happening in the moment and the trajectory of that movement. I would say though, definitely tapping into your network and looking at who's doing what. I have friends in publishing, so I'd go and ask them to put my artists in writing camps and things like that, which in turn, they end up meeting international artists, they end up working on things together, they might release a song. And so you just sometimes can't predict music and where that's going to go. But yeah, like Emiliano said as well, data is great, but sometimes can be misleading depending on what they're doing. I had Shah do a feature with an American artist at the top of this year. That fluctuated her data, made it seem as though, America was, which it was because he was American artist, was like our biggest region. But could she have necessarily done a show out there? I don't know. Or a headline, I don't necessarily know if that would have been the case. So yeah, just to close on that, going with the trajectory of the music.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. This has been really, really cool. We do have some questions from the audience. So I'm just going to ask you because we don't have too much time left. So how to find producers to collaborate who won't jump into the money at first? So essentially what they're asking is, how can you build relationships and find collaborators who aren't going to charge you instantly?
It's extremely difficult. I have this, not issue right now, because I respect producers and songwriters and people that are doing that. That is their craft. And I understand in this business, everyone wants to get paid. But it's really leaning, this is when it comes to leaning into your contact, your network. And if you don't have that, then you need to sort of go out and find those people that will understand what it is that you're trying to do. And you'll find a lot of people will believe in you or your artist and will just want to work with you. So yeah, I think it's just being very clear on the vision. And if they don't understand the vision, then just finding people that do. And just being very real about where you are, and your financial standing, and showing them what it is that you're trying to do so they can buy in.
Yeah. if I can add, I totally agree with that. If I can add something on top of that is, for example, here in Amsterdam, there are different institutions like EACEA, which is popular all around the world, or Abbey Road Institute. And these schools are meant to be for people that want to get into music production. So, for example, it's very good to keep the network warm in there as well, because you never know. First of all, they're very, like all the people that go there are very much into music and creating music. And they organize some writing camps as well, most of the times, which can be open to external people as well. So, like staying close to those networks, it can be very useful and helpful in order to get to know people that are still at a very starting point of their career. Therefore, maybe are willing to work with you and collaborate as a producer in this case, for no fee, and just for the credits and for building a profile. So I would suggest that. And yeah, depending of course of the status of your career, but also if you can get a publisher, that also helps a lot, because then you can easily get into writing camps with other producers.
No, that's really
One last
good.
point, guys, because Emilio just tapped something to my mind. Another thing is also, like, you can work vertically, which is also trying to find producers that are already, lit or popping or whatever, that are, getting big cuts. But then it's also finding people at your level to grow with, finding producers. There's a lot of people that in the music business that want to work. And so maybe finding people and creating synergy with up and coming producers, not necessarily ones that have already made it and already have records out. So that could be a great start for both of you to build together.
And to maybe mention something else, because I understand also that not every city and every town has institutes such as the EACEA or Abbey Road Institute, but you can also rely on online resources such as Discord or Reddit, I think. There are very active communities on those platforms. Therefore, you can always participate to become part of them and eventually connect with like-minded people that can somewhat at a certain point maybe be interested in collaborating with you.
This has been invaluable information. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared so far. I'm just going to hand over to Michelle.
Thank you so much, Mobo, and thank you, Emiliano, Tracey, Ramiro, and everyone to have joined this manager meetup number 2.